Hi guys, let's recreate the picture on the thumbnail. So I have this green crepe for it, our ruler, curve ruler, marker, the client's measurement, scissors, and pattern paper. So we're going to be drafting on the pattern then before we transfer on the fabric. Now the first thing is the client's shoulder of 18 divided by 2, we have 9. Then I went ahead to use 4 inches for her neck width and 3.5 for her neck depth. Now I'm using my curve ruler to connect the neckline like that. So guys, from the shoulder line I went down by 1 inch. That will serve as our shoulder slant. Then after that guys, I'm going to measure the breast point 13.5, under point is 18, then the waist is 20.5. Then after ruling all the line, I went down by 9 inches from the waistline. That is for the hip measurement. So whatever your measurement is, go ahead and indicate it up to the waist then before the hip measurement. Now the hip measurement is 9 inches constant. So guys, from the shoulder slant I went down by 9 inches. That will serve as the chest line. So on the chest line I put the shoulder measurement and I also square it up. Then I'm going to divide what I have there by 2. So what I have there, I'll now go in by 0.75. That will serve as the across chest. Then I put the round bust measurements on the chest line so we can define our armhole properly. Now that we've gotten the armhole, so for the bust radius, that is the dart of this client, I'm using 5.5 because our bust is 51. So I put the bust dart all the way to the hip line. Then I went ahead to square it up. Now on the waistline, I'm going to be using a dart of 0.75 or quarter, yeah, on both sides. Then on the waistline I went down by 6 inches. That is where my dart will stop. Then on the breast point I went down by 1 inch. So I'm going to connect it. So you also connect to the 6 inches. Now the dart is ready. So on the waistline guys, I'm going to be putting the round waist measurement of this client. I'll replace the darts. On the hip, I'm going to be putting our hip measurement divided by 4. Now there's no darts to replace on the hip, so you just go ahead and connect your lines together. So guys, because it is a long dress, like it stops at her 3/4, that is below the knee. From the waistline I now mark her knee line. So I'm using 20.5, or is it 21, yeah, for her knee line. So guys, how to get the round knee is around bust minus 5, sorry, around hip minus 5, whatever you have divided by 4, round hip measurements minus 5, then whatever that is left divided by 4, then you put it. That is how to get the knee round. So I'm just going to extend our lines all the way to the back so that we can draft the back on both pattern. Now the dress of this client is longer than this. My paper is not enough. So guys, to get the back waistline, we are going to be minusing 3 inches from what the front waistline gives. Now the front waistline, when I measure it from the chest line, it gives me 10.5. So when I minus 3 inches and I mark 7.5 from the chest line of the back, then from that waistline of the back that I got, I now went down by 9 inches because the difference between my client's front and the back waist length is 3 inches. So I also went ahead to mark from the waistline of the back, 21 inches. That is the knee length. Yes, so I'm going to, if I'm cutting on the fabric, I'm going to put the remaining length on the fabric. So this is me measuring, or sorry, labeling all the patterns so you don't get confused. So guys, these are all the patterns. So let's draft the back neckline. I use the same thing of the neck wideness, then the depth is 1 inch. I also mark the shoulder line. On the chest line, I also mark the chest shoulder line. So I'm going to be connecting the line. Now this is without zip. It is when I'm cutting on the fabric that I'm going to add zip allowance. So for the shoulder slant of the back, I also use 1 inch and I connect it together. So whatever that is left between the shoulder slant and the chest line, divided by 2, and you are going to be putting it. Then I also went in by ½ inch for the back. Then I put the round bust measurements. Now I'm going to connect all the points together. So our back armhole is ready. Now for the waist, I put the waist measurements divided by 4. On the hip, I put the hip measurement divided by 4. Now I'm going to connect it to the bust. So guys, I actually forgot to put our darts. So I'm using 5 inches for the darts. The front I use 5.5, but for the back I'm using 5 inches. So just like what we did for the front, I put the 5 inches on the chest line, on the waist, and on the hip. But for the front is only from the bust line to the hip line. Then I took in a dart of half inch on both sides. Then I went ahead to replace the ½ inch. Then I now connect the points properly. I also went down 6 inches from the back waist, and I'm going to be connecting our darts that way. So our back dart is ready. Then I put the hip measurement on the hip line, and I'm going to be connecting it to the new line. So for the knee round of the back, what I use for the front is what I use for the back. Then I also connect it to the hip line. Now guys, to avoid any zip bulge, I just went in ½ inch on the waistline of the back, and I just took it up to where the across chest line of the back is. That place I went in by ½ inch to connect the armhole. That is where it stops. Then I went down by 6 inches from the waist, and I also connect it. Now let's take in our darts, our bust darts. So from the bust line, I mark 3 inches, and I'm going to connect it to the bust point. Yep. So guys, I'm just going to close it so that I can roll that dart properly. So from the bust line, form a crease line on the bust line so that you can be able to close your dart properly. Form a crease line, then place your hand on the breast point. When you place your hand, it will be easy for you to close. Can you see how easy it was for me to close? Yeah, so after closing it, I'm now going to place my ruler. Now this is what we call truing. You're truing the darts back. Whatever shortage you have, you're replacing it. So on the chest line of the round bust to the waistline, I mark it. Then I went ahead to use my tracing wheel to just trace it out. Now if you don't have a tracing wheel, don't worry. Since you already ruled the line, then when you open it, you're just going to connect all the dots, the lines together rather. But because I used the tracing wheel, it actually gave me where to follow. Now this is me removing the back from the front. So guys, from the back knee round, I mark ½ inch, and I went down from the hip line of the back by 1.5. Then I connect that ½ inch to it. I hope you understand. That is to give it a butt allowance or to make your back very fitted. So this is me cutting the back and also cutting the down part. So we have our back ready. Now you're going to just add 1 inch all the way down when you are cutting on the fabric. Now let's cut the front also. So can you see the front? And then I'll just extend the length of what I want. Then I added 1.5 inches sewing allowance to it on the fabric. So when you close your darts, can you see it, and you place them together, so you have the same length. Now guys, we are going to be cutting that cape. So our round bust is 51, divide by 8 minus 2 plus 1, it gives me 5.6. Now I'll just sum it up to 6 inches, then I roll the 6 inches. So from the folded paper, because this is folded into 2, I went down by 2.5. Then I'm going to connect it to the 6 inches. Then the length of the cape, I mark 7 inches. That is the length of the cape. Now on that 6 inches, I'm going to be going down by 3 inches. Now look at the way I'm placing my ruler. I gave it like a slanted form. I did not give it a straight line. Can you see? Then I'm going to use my curve ruler to connect it to the 7 inches. So our cape is ready. That is how to cut your cape. Oh guys, if you've gotten to this point and you've not liked this video, kindly give me a like if you are finding it very interesting. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so, for you to get juicy and well explained tutorial. So this is the cape. Now I'm going to use my dress form to teach you something. So if you place your cape on the dress form, now the picture on the thumbnail, the cape is stopping on the center front. So the dress form already have a line that indicates the center front. So when I place it, whatever shortage that I have there, I'm going to mark it. That is calculation from that place where the cape stopped to the center front is 6.75. So I just fill it up. Can you see it? I just fill it up. Now if you don't have a dress form, you can use any body form or mannequin that you have. It will always have a center front. So I cut 2 pieces. I'm going to be gumming it. I used cotton estate to gum. Then I'll now sew the down part, then turn it. Now for the ruffles on the side of the cape, I just cut a peplum from the way you cut your 360 degree. So I cut it, then I mark 3 inches on that part. Then on this other part I have 5.5. So I just use my hand to just connect it from the 3 inches to the 5.5. So I'm going to be cutting it. Now I have 2 of that because I'll be using one to turn the other. Then I slit the smallest part open. So we have our ruffles. Now you can do very long lengths if you want more, more of this. So guys, I'm going to be sewing our darts. I'm going to pick the darts. I went ahead to transfer all the darts to the material. So use a pencil or your tracing wheel to transfer it from the pattern to your fabric. I also do the same thing for the back. Then that's the zip allowance of 1 inch. So we're going to be sewing all of that. Then the zip allowance also of 1 inch. Now this is the front. I'm going to cut out facing. So I believe you all know how to cut facing. So I'm also cutting facing for the back. Then I'm marking the facing length. So guys, this is it. I've gone ahead to iron the cape and also turn it. Now let's join the necklines together of our dress. So place the back on the front, right side facing right side, and you're going to be sewing the shoulder with 1/2 inch I also do the same thing for the other side. I'm going to be sewing it with half an inch. After that, guys, we have our facing. So now I'm going to place the facing also. I am going to be sewing the shoulder of the facing with half inch. So go ahead and do yours like that. Now let's go and sew. After sewing the shoulder lines, can you see it? Now I'm going to place the cape on it from the center front of the dress. I ironed the center so I can know the center front. Then I went ahead to pin, because you have to put the cape first before you use your facing to turn. So I had to put the cape all the way to the back. Then I realized the cape is longer than, because it will stop on the place where you put your zip rather. So guys, I'm going to be cutting off the excess. Yeah, I'll just remove, turn it inside out and cut off the excess, then I'll fix it back. After that, I'm going to use my facing to turn the neckline of this dress. Yep, so this is it, guys. After using my facing to turn the neckline, I went ahead to use hemi gum to secure the facing inside, and this is how it is. Very neat and beautiful. Now I have hold the front dart. Can you see it? I've hold the bust dart. Then the back, I actually forgot, so I'm just going to be holding that dart also. Then guys, I'm going to be sewing the side seam. Yeah, the allowance I added 1.5 inches. I'm going to be sewing. Now this is it after sewing the side seam. Our dress is getting ready. Now I'm going to be using a bias to turn the armhole of this. Then this is the ruffles. I'm just going to place it on the breast point or the under bust. If you look at the picture on the thumbnail, it's actually from the under bust. So when you just place it and you sew it round, this is how it is. Later I'm going to be turning the armhole with a bias. Now this is the full dress, guys. Thank you all for watching this tutorial. I'll see you all in my next one, and don't forget to like this video, share it, and turn on the bell. Bye.